Guess where I'm going? Time for some poker action. Slovakia, Banco Casino, Banco Tournament, let's go.
Welcome to the table, guys. Thank you very much for tuning in. My name is Gotti, and here you can see me in Bratislava in the Banco Casino. It's an amazing property, definitely worth a visit. And until now I played 3 tournaments thus far. You just saw the results, but now it's time for some poker cash game action. 1-2 are the limits. Unfortunately there was no bigger game running, but let's see if I could make something happen and make some profit. Buckle up and let's go. Very nice welcome here with pocket jacks in the middle position. I opened for €7, the cutoff and the small blind called, and the flop comes 10-10 for rainbow. I put in a small c-bet of €10, but both players instantly fold. So nice start to the session. The table was not really deep and not really aggressive, so here I opened with a premium from under the gun, more deuces. Next to act call and the big blind calls as well. And we go 3-bet to the flop, which comes Jack 10 for rainbow. The action checked through on the flop, so we go to the turn, which brings a 9. I actually gave up already, so I check. Both players check behind. River's a 3, no need to bluff here. I check. Surprisingly, both checks behind, and I win against Ace-5 and Ace-6 suited. Easy game. And since this premium is working pretty fine for me, I'll just do it again. The hijack open for 5. I'm in the cutoff. I just call. Everybody else folds. You go heads up to the flop, which comes Queen 3 deuce with 2 clubs. He continues for €5. I just make the call. The turn brings a 10 of diamonds, so it's 2-tone board now. He bets another €5. This time I go for a little bit more value. I'll raise to €15. He makes the call. We go to the river, which brings a brick with 5 of spade. He checks. I go for pure value for €35. He thinks a little bit, but unfortunately folds. So I think he only had a gut shot or like flush draw. But I try my best to squeeze out every possible value there is. So on to the next one. Here I open pocket queens from early position for €7. The low jack folds and the hijack 3-bets me to €28. So 4 times my opening. It folds around back to me. And since he has less than €200 in his stack, I decided to put them all in. And I really expect the call pretty fast. But he takes his time and tanks and tanks and tanks and finally decide to fold ace jack off. So actually a good fold by him, and I'm happy to take €30 for free. In this hand, the under the gun open for €7. Next to egg calls, the hijack and the button calls, and I'm on the big blind with ace-6 of diamonds. I call as well, so we go 5-8 to the flop, which comes jack-7 deuce with 2 diamonds. So pretty nice flop for me, and the action checks through on the flop, which pairs the board on the turn with the 7. Now the small blind leads out for €7. I just make the call to hope that the other players jump in as well, but only under the gun player makes the call, so we go 3-way to the river. The river brings a beautiful 4 of diamonds, so I'm sitting here with the effective nuts actually. And fortunately the small blind checks over to me, so I have to go for some value. I put in a bet of €25 and hope that one of them both will pay me off. But unfortunately both players fold, so pretty hard to get some value here. But I gotta keep trying. And here in this hand, under the gun player limps. I'm next to egg with jack-9 in hearts. I raise it up to €12. The hijack makes the call and it falls around to the limper, which calls us away. So we go 3-way to the flop, which brings king queen 3 with 1 heart. The limper checks, and since I'm in a sandwich, I check behind to realize my equity, and the hijack player checks as well. The turn brings an ace, which definitely should favor my range, and when the limper checks, I go for a range bet of €20 to represent all strong aces, 2 pairs, slow played sets, and I also have a blocker to the nuts. But when both players quickly call, I definitely know I need help on the river. But when the river breaks out with the 7 and the limper checks, I already gave up and checked behind. And the hijack player checks as well and shows 2 pair, ace-3 of clubs. So even though if I go full pot size bet on the river, it's really hard to get these calling stations off of the hand, especially when they hold 2 pair or better. So lucky here I stumped on the brakes and on to the next one. This is a fun one out of the big blind with 5-4 off. Middle position open for €5. Cut off, small blind and me called, so we ended up 4 ways on the flop, which comes pretty favorable with 5-4-4. Small blind and me, we check over to the pre-raiser, which puts in a c-bet of €6. The cutoff calls, small blind folds, and I make the call. Turn is the 9 of clubs, which brings in a 2nd of clubs. I check over to the pre-raiser, he continues for €15. This time the cutoff folds, and for me it's time to bump up the pot. So I raise to €40 and he makes the call quite quickly, which I like to see. River brings a 6 of clubs, so backdoor flush gets there. But unfortunately I do make a mistake here and I jam for €125, which is over the pot size. And he sinks quite a bit but ends up folding. So this was definitely an overplay. Because these players are way too tight to call down lightly. So here I have to go for slim value, like 40-50% pot size bet to get a call from any overpair, maybe an ace high, clubs or naked 9, but on to the next one. Another decent flop, this time with queens. I'm under the gun, I open for €7, middle position player calls and a small blind calls as well. So we ended up on the flop from queen 8-5 rainbow. The action checks through on the flop, and the turn brings a 3, which completed the rainbow. Small blind player checks over to me. I keep checking here to build the trap, and this time a middle position player bets out €15. Small blind quickly calls, which gave me the feeling that the small blind at least must have something. So I decided to raise here to €50, but unfortunately both players fold quite quickly. So like I mentioned, these players and their ranges are so weak, it's so hard to get value if you hit something, but at least the pots get pushed in my direction. Here we finally play a bigger pot. Under the gun open for €6. I'm next to act with 5-4 in hearts. I just make the call, no problem to go multi-way with his hand. Cut off calls as well, and the small blind decided to raise for €18. Pretty small bet size. Big blind folds, and when under the gun player calls, first of all I get a good price, and second of all I know the cutoff will never 4-bet, so I just make the call, cutoff calls, and we go 4-way to the flop, which comes pretty interesting, 7-7-6 with 2 hearts. So I flop me an open and a straight flush draw, and when the small blind keeps being aggressive and bets €35 half pot size bet, I put him right away on a bigger overpair. Under gun player folds, I just make the call and cutoff folds as well. So go heads up to the turn, which brings a red 8, unfortunately the wrong one, but at least I make a straight. And this time small blind bets €50. Pretty small size compared to the pot. Definitely merit here to pump up the pot, but I don't want him to fold, and I'm also chasing for the jackpot, which would bring another €300. So I just make the call in position and I'm ready to bomb every river. When the river brings an ace and he checks over to me now, I put him on a smaller pocket between 9s and kings. So instead of bumping the river, I decided to go for slim value. I put out a bet of €75. He makes a crying call and I show him the bad news and collect a almost 400 euro pot. But with the jackpot would have been nice though. A lot of playable hands here, some I won, some I lost, but nothing really spectacular. So this brings us to the last two hands of the night, and this one is a little bit more tricky. The straddle is on in this hand to 4 euro, there are two limpers and I'm on the button with ace jack off. I overlimp just to get some players in, and if I hit the board hard I definitely go for it, otherwise I just can let it go. Small blind calls, big blind folds, and the straddler checks his option. So we go 5-way to the flop, which comes ace 7-3 with two hearts. Pretty nice flop. It checks around to the cutoff, which puts in 6 euro. I raise him right away to 20 euro to isolate him. The rest folds and he makes the call. Turn brings the 8 of diamonds. He checks over to me. I go for some more value, put in a bet of 25 euro, and he instantly calls. This is a little bit worrisome because he's a very passive, tight player. So my plan is to check back any river, but when the river brings me a 2-pair with a jack out of nowhere, and he checks over to me, I decide to go for it and put him all in for his remaining 100 something euro. He thinks quite a bit and ends up calling. And it turns out it was a really nice cooler this time for me when he shows me ace 8 of hearts. So I just faded the world. He had a pretty nice flop, a dream turn, and then a very coolered river. And there we are with the last hand of the night. It's also a fun one. Cutoff and big blind limps in. I'm on a small blind with pocket jacks, John, jiggities, whatever you like to call them. I raise to 15 euro, everybody folds, and the both limper make the call. Flop comes 8-5-3 rainbow. This board shouldn't connect with any of them, so I like to go here with my range, cause all my overpairs and bigger ice high holdings should be ahead of their ranges. So I see a bet for 20 euro, cutoff makes a call, and big blind folds. Turn brings the queen, which fulfills the rainbow, and since he's calling on the flop, I put him on a smaller pocket pair, maybe on an ace high holding, so the queen shouldn't connect too hard with his range. So I continue for value here for 45 euro. He thinks for a second and makes the call, but now he starts to stare me down, and when the river pairs the board with the 3 and he's not stopped staring at me, so I got the feeling he really tries to catch me. So I don't think he's too strong, so I go for a block bet / slim value for 55 euro. He makes an instant call, and when I'm showing my jacks, he's really upset and mucks. So I think he has a smaller pocket, 6s, 7s, 9s maybe, or like a suited 8, like ace 8, king 8, 10 8, 9 8, something like this. And he really tried to catch me when I bluff, but not this time.
Home sweet home. There we are, back on the island after a short reroute via Prague with the bus, since my flight got cancelled because of a strike in Italia and whatever. Nobody want to hear about that. It was a long day, it was a long trip, but finally back home, and yeah, overall really amazing trip. I had a lot of fun, but all the recap and numbers coming now back to me in the studio.
Thank you very much for watching. If you made it so far, the trip overall was really awesome. Especially the last 2 days of cashing was really good, over 1k in profit like you can see here. The venue, it's amazing. Everything they do for the players is just high level service. The city itself is beautiful, so definitely worth a visit. But for me, now back here on Malta, back to the daily grind. And don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button, send me a comment if you like, and we see us next time. Cheers!